bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
All right, Fade to Black. How you doing? How you doing? Today is Thursday, July 17th, 2025. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Let's do this, man. Yeah, I used to say that for years with more conviction. Now it's just like, let's do this, man. Yeah. What a great week on the show. I mean, an absolutely amazing week. Every week is great, but Monday night we had Dr. Tracy Fanara with us talking about Gaia theory. That was an amazing night on the show. Tuesday night, Scott Wolter was here, always entertaining when Scott joins us. The Lewis and Clark Secret Vault. Last night, Preston Dennett. He's always amazing. Schoolyard UFOs last night. Such a great conversation. We're going to wrap up this week with Christopher Jordan. Those in his circle call him Chris. We're going to call him Chris tonight. Christopher Jordan is with us, and we're going to be talking about his absolutely amazing website and project and things that he is doing around being a citizen scientist. And I've called the show "The Citizen Scientist Is You." That's right. That's everybody listening right now, and that will listen to the show later on in the archives and what have you. You are here. You're on a journey. That's what you are doing. And you're doing your own research. You're looking into things. Something has happened. You've experienced something. And you turn around and do that. That makes you a citizen scientist. So we're going to talk about all of that tonight with Chris. I want to remind everybody that I have one major event coming up in a couple of weeks, and that is the Sci Games, which is August 1st through the 3rd, 2025 in Charlottesville, Virginia. The Psychic Olympics. And I will be the Sci Games game show host. I am so looking forward to this. Now, we have a discount code for you. It is Jimmy C PG20. I think it's all caps, but that is in the description box below, over on our website, throughout social media. Use that promo code to get yourself some tickets, and click on the link below, and you can check out all the speakers, the schedule, the venue, the hotel, all of that fun stuff. And I will see you in a couple of weeks out there in Virginia. All right. Let's get straight to it. Tonight, Chris Jordan is here. And this is the deal. If you are here and you listen to this show every day, you know what we're doing. We're investigating. That's what we do. The paranormal, the supernatural, what is going on in our skies, the universe, physics, science. That's what we do around here. And data, of course, not just stories or photos, is key to serious research. And we're going to discuss all of that tonight. And I was watching Bill comment in the chat right before the show. He's already checked out Chris's website, and he's posting stuff about features that are there. We're going to go through all of that. All right. He is the founder of Curious Research, an organization whose mission is helping the world of fringe sciences and paranormal research prepare their data to shake hands with science at large, and helping scientists prepare to look back at us and the data provided by the disciplines of UFOlogy, Cryptozoology, and of course, Parapsychology. All of that and much more tonight on the show. And he's right there, Chris Jordan. Chris, what's going on, young man? How you doing?
Doing great, Jimmy. How you doing this evening?
Well, not as good as you, man. You live in Austin, Texas.
I do. I do.
Man.
It is a little slice of heaven. Aside from the crazy floods right now, a slice of heaven.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what? Our heart goes out I mean,
It's been rough.
seriously. It bothered me so much. First off, I'm a parent, right? But I'm also a human being. And when those reports started coming in, and I do the news every day,
Yeah.
on a separate broadcast, and the numbers were creeping up, and the empathy, your emotion, you start,
Yeah.
oh no, no, no.
Yeah.
And the whole country rode through that. And so our thoughts and prayers are
Thank you.
with everybody out there. That was
Thank you.
just as harsh as it gets, and
Absolutely.
there you go. I saw a report. Let me ask you this.
Sure
It,
thing.
it's the obvious. I get it. I don't know why it took so long to come out, but I saw a report there on Texas and the floods, and the headline on the report was "Highlands are safer." Right? I was like, well, duh, right? And
Sure.
now it's almost clickbait, but then I backed up because I was a little angry, at the headline of that, coming off of all of this, stating the obvious.
Yeah.
But I thought to myself, maybe people do need to be reminded of something like that, like high ground
Yeah.
is better. And
It's a good thing. It's a good the riverfront view is beautiful. Absolutely, but there are inherent dangers with being on the river, much like being on the base of a volcanic island in Hawaii. Like
you know
there are
what?
inherent dangers with living on a volcano.
How about a beach?
Y Yeah.
I think about that all the time. I lived
Yeah, being from Houston, it was hurricanes all the time.
hurricanes, and yeah, well, and freezing winters too. People don't
Yeah.
know that about Houston. But I lived in Venice Beach for a minute, right
Mm.
on the beach. And my front yard was sand. And I would go out there with my daughters and we would, play and do all the stuff that you do. But I would stand back and just look and go, man, if a tsunami came through here, right? And I would just turn around and look at
Yeah,
the flatlands. I'm like, it's gone.
it's gone.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's so I think about that every time I see a riverfront house or
Yep.
beachfront property. It's like, no, no, no. I'm
Yeah.
out here in the desert. We'll move on from this, but I do live in a haunted house, and we'll talk about that.
Oh,
Yeah, I live in a haunted house, but I love this house because it is protected by. I'm in the desert. I'm in the Mojave Desert, and the ocean is 40 miles that way, west and south of me. But anyway, I have a mountain range that surrounds all of this, right? The whole Mojave Desert, this
yeah.
huge mountain range right here. It's my protection, right? That's what I'm
Yeah.
serious. It's like whatever
Yeah,
goes
yeah.
on over there, it's not getting to me. And I
You aren't really worried about the shifting sands taking you under,
don't
you
care.
know?
Don't care,
Yeah.
man. I'm protected. Whatever goes out over there, it's got to come through those mountains to get to me.
Right.
And so there you go. The paranormal and the supernatural. We'll get to ET too as well.
Absolutely.
The paranormal and the supernatural. I say this often, and so do you. So I want your comment on this. The two are colliding at the moment, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. And more than that, paranormal and the supernatural and science are colliding. Like as of a few years ago, man.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. No,
Yeah.
paranormal and supernatural and science
Yeah.
are like two trains heading down
Yep.
the track, getting ready
Yeah.
to just explode.
Oh, absolutely. And when quantum entanglement won the Nobel Prize a few years ago, Jimmy, that's what I think really lifted a lot of the veil, because I'm involved in the remote viewing community, things like that. And that's one of the things that I speak about regarding that is the idea that's literally what remote viewing was based on, is the idea that you are remotely entangled with something else that you can pull data from. Like that's an integral part of that research. So yeah, it brought science hurtling down the pathway of paranormal research in a true way. Um,
Dean Radin,
yeah,
right? Who's
love his work.
amazing, and his his crew, his people around him, for years and years and years and years, was talking about that subject.
Yeah,
And at the time, it sounded too deep for me. Like I didn't quite get the quantum world and what that was. I was researching it, but it's a very deep subject on so
yeah,
many levels. But he would go, well, in that Dean Radin voice, at the quantum, these things interact. It's very small,
yeah,
but when you get a lot of interactions, that's when things start to happen. And he nailed it on the head, didn't he? It's
yeah,
exactly what
yeah.
physics started to reveal.
Exactly. And it was things that had been hypothesized by folks like Einstein for years with spooky action at a distance, things like that. But until this real groundbreaking work that really put it on the map as far as like this is beyond hypothesis, this is a real thing. We have entangled these photons. And even one of the things I have in my presentation that I'll be giving at Sci Games is the image of the entangled light photons, which in and of itself brings up a whole metaphysical quandary because it's quite literally an exact yin yang.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not like maybe a yin yang. It's not kind of close to a yin
It's
yang.
not open to interpretation.
It is a yin yang.
Right. Right.
So
Let me stop you right there.
go ahead.
When that image was first released,
Yeah.
all right, when that image was first released, you know what I did for about 3 days in bed? I laid there in the dark with my eyes open, like, Jesus Christ, right? And I
Yeah.
was like, oh my, what?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's now, okay. It is what it is. The
Yep.
image is what it is, but it kind of opens the door, doesn't it, to what the ancients
Yeah.
knew and where they were getting their information from, doesn't it?
Well, it really does. It puts the things that we have considered esoteria, with my air quotes up for the listeners out there. Um, Esoteria becomes something a little more akin to science at that point. And when much like any cryptozoologist, like the work in the field of finding the lowland gorilla began with gathering stories from the localized population that had the stories of the lowland gorilla. So you've got to be willing to listen to the ancient people who've seen this critter for years and years, even though science is like, this thing doesn't exist. What are you talking about? You're crazy people, you know?
So here I'm just gonna bust this up.
Go ahead.
Just so everybody understands what we are talking about. This oh, you know what? Wow. Okay. Uh 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 it's already ready to go. I didn't even know we were going to talk about this. But
Oh,
okay.
we'll get into synchronicities later.
Yeah, I know, right. Okay. Because this messed me up so much. So this is the image that we are talking about. Okay. This is
Yeah.
an entangled pair of photons. And you're like,
Yeah.
what? How many people have this as a tattoo and thought that it was yin yang? Right.
I wore one around my neck through almost the entire 90s.
Yes. Jimmy. Look at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's mind.
And once again, it's not an approximation. It's not like, it could be interpreted as that, I guess. Like, no, it's a yin yang, man. Like it is exactly a yin yang. And when you start considering things like, especially sacred geometry, frequencies, things like that, solfeggio patterns, it's really, really remarkable to think about that, to think about the fact that, yes, on a quantum level, Jimmy, we are all participating in that quantum vibration. Like we are one universal harmonious chord of existence. It's beautiful.
it's not open to interpretation. And,
Not really. Not
so
really.
I'm lying in bed just thinking about the heaviness of what this image represents, right?
Yeah.
There's so many doors that are open. But then I kind of I got a little solitary relief, like I'm not crazy, right?
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
that I needed this just to let me know. And the physicist out there, the agnostic,
Yeah.
non-spiritual, whatever, 2D reality, black and white,
Sure.
pragmatic scientist, that image had to have changed them. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to back up and just go, wait a minute. Okay, this
It
represents a lot more than entanglement.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, once again, the idea that science is now taking in a new data field. One of the things that I say regularly is I am a fan of the relabeling of UFO to UAP. And not because, of course, they could sneaky Pete a whole bunch of research in the background and say, like, sorry, no FOIA request for you, Black Vault, because we don't research UFOs, we research UAPs. Not just
Right.
that. That's classy, number one, like, "Ooh, way to use the system." But it's the fact of anomaly and phenomena, because those are actual parts of scientific data. And whether or not science liked it, that really brought them kicking and screaming to the table of real and actual UFO research, because one of the things that science has to do is remove the anomaly from their data set. They've got to be able to account for the anomaly. So they've got to explain what the anomaly in their experiment is. Like the example I normally give whenever I discuss this is a chemistry experiment. If I was in college chemistry and I turned in my equation from two solutions mixing together, and 5% of those solutions went missing, be it to off gas, sediment, what have you, there's
Mhm.
now a 5% remainder somewhere. I have to account for that 5% remainder. I'm not going to pass that experiment in chemistry class if I can't account for the 5% remainder. Did it turn to off gas? Did it turn to sediment? Did it become another byproduct? What happened? So that's an inordinately important part of the experiment. So yeah,
But that brings up another question, and
go
it's
ahead.
I don't want to go sideways here
No,
too
no.
far, but we can. See, you're a host. You know what you're doing, so I can just sit back and just drink coffee, and I just
You
hand the
could.
keys to you.
I don't
But
want you to do that though.
yeah, but here's the deal. Yeah, let me sip my coffee too. But here's the deal. When it comes to experiments and measurement and observation,
Yeah,
entanglement is extraordinary,
yeah,
but consciousness
rare.
comes into play too as well.
Absolutely.
And that is that the next frontier for science, to be able to measure and quantify and observe and collect data on consciousness?
I think that that is a huge, huge part of it, Jimmy, especially when you start even looking at, and we'll get into the citizen science part of this in just a minute, even, but when you look at let's say, for instance, the Bigelow Institute, who put out their call 2 years ago at the IANS conference for uh, whoever can prove scientifically through lab data connection with intelligence on the other side,
Mhm.
with people who have passed on. The fact that consciousness continues, as Jeffrey Mishlev's paper put forth,
Yep.
all kinds of things. So
And
these are
his paper was excellent, by the
oh, it
way.
was beautiful. It was beautiful. He deserved that award 110%.
Yeah,
Um,
good on him. He called me up. I had him on my show right after that,
yeah,
and we were talking beforehand. I said, "So did it really happen? Everything that, I didn't want to talk about the prize and everything." He goes, "Yeah, man." I was like, "Man, good on you." I mean, that's got to be a really good feeling, because Jeffrey, just like you, just like Dean Radin and so many others, have been researching this and fighting the good fight for decades and decades and decades and decades. I started watching Jeffrey Mishlove in the mid 80s, man.
Yeah.
And he's been at it for a very long time, and he's collected. He's a very smart guy, very smart researcher, but he's interviewed the biggest and the brightest and the best. So he has also learned a lot from doing his TV show and the people that he interacted with.
Absolutely.
And that paper was spot on the money. It was
Darn tootin'.
his intellect was poured right into that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And, the idea that we are connected with something bigger, that we're connected with something larger. One of the things that I reference regularly is the paper by Hal Puthoff that began remote viewing, and the fact of he was a laser scientist. That's what he does. Like, he builds laser systems and things like that. And the reason why he's interested in why you may be adversely affecting your experiment when you go home and think about it. That's an interesting realm of vibration and an interesting realm of quantum connection. That concept of, if you're sitting in traffic on the Van Nuys and, man, did I leave my iron on? I think I left my iron on. I'm pretty sure I left my iron on. And you think it's so long that your iron turns on and burns your apartment down.
That's right. That's right.
It's a fascinating concept, but it takes a laser scientist, somebody who has to physically know how to vibrate a medium, be it a radioactive dye, a sliver of semiconductor, a rod of ruby or other crystal, vibrated enough to change the way that photons pass through it. Like, that's a different realm of vibrational science and understanding the way that physics works when that high field of vibration changes.
That's where okay. I've got a sick mind. All
Go
right.
ahead.
I've got a sick mind. But this is the truth. Our community, whether you're talking about telekinesis, life after death, downloading and channeling information from ET in the Pallades, whatever it is, right? The craziest stuff that we can think of in our community that we talk about and enjoy, right?
Yep.
It ain't as crazy as when science started to announce in the 40s and the 50s that you could observe something and change its state.
Yeah.
This was science. This was the heart. This was physics, man. This is Niels Bohr, right? The Copenhagen, the most brightest of everything that we've got. Wheeler, right? And Oppenheimer, and started talking about this. And that's where science started to go. Now, that is crazier than anything that we talk about in our community.
All through pure thought experiments. Like 90% of what they did, 90% of what Einstein did was thought experiments, and math came into it through the thought experiment. But it's fascinating to think about that. And even the fact that, many times they were carrying on those thought experiments through mail correspondence. They weren't on phone calls together. They weren't sitting on a Zoom meeting. It was an actual, like, let's write this out. Like having a chess match over mail.
Yeah, they would get together and just fight. That was such a lovely time.
And that to bring us into this conversation of citizen science, man, that is honestly what's missing a lot, period, in our society to begin with. But B, amongst the paranormal community and the scientific community, is that willingness to parry, thrust, and block without it being personal.
Right.
That willingness to ask a hard question.
I like that.
Because science wants things inside of a very tight defined box, but they've got to be willing to expand the box or at least look outside of it.
Well, Einstein would do that.
Sure.
And so many others too.
And that's the beauty of hypothesis, is that you're allowed to make any hypothesis you want, and then through experimentation we'll prove or disprove and poke holes in the hypothesis, and maybe it'll float, maybe it'll sink.
That's how we got to where we are. But that's how we got to where we are. And I don't know why that freedom of thoughts has stopped in science.
Exactly. And not just in science, in our paranormal communities as well. man,
Sure,
where it has
sure.
become very rigid in thought, and it's this way or the highway. And it's like, hey, like science is having to redefine things regularly. And yes, it may get to a point, like we were just discussing on my show the other night, the idea of with new concept modalities and psionics and things like that. Man, what we know as physics may just come to a point of breaking down, kind of like physics when you get close to a wormhole. You get close to an event horizon of a black hole, and physics and math as we know it just dissolves.
It breaks down.
It just breaks down,
Yeah, it
and
breaks
that's
down.
kind of what we're coming to with the world of consciousness, quantum connection, things like that, is that what we know as hard science is kind of starting to break down a little bit in some ways.
Yeah,
Um,
if you think about and then we'll get to citizen science,
yeah,
everybody, I promise.
absolutely.
But Einstein in the 1920s takes this form of mathematics that had been around for a while, Riemannian, and this concept,
Yeah,
and he kind of pulls the papers down and takes a look at it, and which was spheres is what this was about. Okay. Now, so he's looking at it, and then he formulates in his head. Now, he had seen nothing like this, but he pulls out of the math the concept of light bending around mass, and we
yeah,
can see it on the other side, like a star behind a planet, but we would see this, right?
yeah,
So he writes this up, and he throws it out there and says, hey, I've got this idea, but it was all in his head.
yep,
He had never observed that before. He's sitting and thinking about that way outside of the box, a
yeah,
concept that wasn't proven until the solar eclipse that happened 4 years after he presented the paper, where stars were photographed behind the eclipse. And when the images came out, because everybody was photographing the eclipse, there it
yeah,
was. And it was like, wow, this concept is now proven, the bending
yeah,
of light around a mass, all because he was thinking outside of the box. And
yeah, and
that's
willing to.
extraordinary to me.
Yeah, yeah, and willing to think outside of the box, willing to stray there, willing to like the phrase I use regularly is we need more Magellans. We need more people who are fearlessly willing to jump in a ship and just sail to the horizon, man. Just sail to
Well,
the horizon. See what's
great,
there. We
great,
gotta
great,
find out.
great segue to citizen scientists,
Absolutely.
because because I have said, I want your definition of what a citizen
Sure.
scientist is, but um, everybody that is attracted to this show is on a journey, and they are here for their own deeply personal reasons.
Yeah.
But they're smart, man. They go down the rabbit hole. They look at this and they bump into physics and other things as they're trying to get answers for an experience or something that they have seen or witnessed.
Yeah.
And I have always said, let's continue to do this together.
That's
Is
right.
that a citizen scientist?
1,000%. As soon as the in the beginning of my observation and encounter log, there is a phrase that I use, and it is, as soon as you have experienced or seen the paranormal, you are a scientist. The only difference is whether or not you've bought a ticket to the train that's leaving the station or whether or not you're still at the station eating a Twix from the vending machine. That's the only difference, Jimmy. Um,
I'm going to steal your material tonight, man.
feel free, buddy.
Stealing all it.
Um, but science, the science, and that's why the scientific process is on the beginning of it on the front cover of the log, is because it begins with observation and question. Period. That is the first step of the scientific process, is observation and question. So if you have seen something and you questioned it, science began. The prime mover already pushed it. The only
Right.
question is whether or not the slinky pushes back, you know? Um,
The other night, God, you're so good. The other night I had on Tracy Fanara, and she's, PhD. She's
yeah,
brilliant, man. She's just brilliant. And so we're talking about that, but at the end, because she's an environmentalist and involved in NOAA and everything else, that's what she does.
Yeah.
Climate. But anyway, she's also seen a few ghosts. And so we were talking about, my haunted house. Anyway, after the show ended, talk about observe and question, right? This is what happened. Chris, on All That I Love, on my daughter, the show ends. And I'm sitting in this quiet studio. I take off my headphones and I put them down and I just kind of sit back and just, which I do every night after the show, right? Take a breath.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. And as I do that, and this place is quiet. Listen to it. See, it's quiet. And right behind this monitor, right behind it, this creak happened. And it was like, not like a loud, too loud for a creak, like a door opening that, or a rocking,
like the kids sneaking home late at night.
Yeah, on the stairs, right?
Yeah.
But not the quiet version. Like friggin' loud, right?
Wow.
And I thought it was somebody outside of my house, but my alarms didn't go off. I have motion sensors around the house. That didn't happen. And so I erased that and I got up and I went over. I have some guitars hanging on the walls, not these, but over here. And I'm like moving. I'm like, no, nothing's creep. Man. Okay. So I observed, I questioned, and then I tapped out. I was like, man, I don't want the answer to this one.
That's okay.
This one I'm just going to let go. But that's a citizen scientist in the paranormal. When something like that happens. Yeah.
That's just it. We have to, as people investigating this stuff, as people looking into it, we have to kind of start considering ourselves that, many people are out weekend warrioring it, even when it comes to Sasquatch, Bigfoot, that kind of stuff, Jimmy. But it doesn't mean that you can't take data down as it happens. Too frequently, people are writing things down later, that kind of stuff. And unfortunately, the example I give is the show First 48 on A&E.
I remember that. Yeah.
It's a show about murder investigation, and it's a fact of if they do not get solid leads and data in the first 48 hours, they may not solve that crime. But it comes down to data and more data than just, hey, here's a picture. You've got to be able to provide the data of the direction, what kind of thing, the environment in which things were taken, the circumstances under which things happen. Those are all things that a scientist in the lab writes down in real time as he's watching a reaction in a vessel.
Now, our community, that's a fantastic point, because our community has developed a mental process of us versus the man.
Yes. Yes.
You have to let that go. Right. You have to let that go, don't you?
Yeah.
It's okay to be a scientist sometimes. It's okay to be an intellectual.
Yeah. Because, the problem is at some point you're gonna have to shake hands with science. At some point you're gonna have to be able to answer the scientific question when it comes to you, and as an audio video technician, it's one of those, I hear the term, a phrase, a picture is worth 1,000 words. No, a picture is worth 1,000 words if you are familiar with the picture. If you are not familiar, you take a picture of a wedding party, show it to a 4-year-old who's never been to a wedding with zero frame of reference. It's a picture of some people who were dressed fancy.
Right.
Right.
Well, like that
you need the 1,000 words.
Like that yin yang I just showed. If you don't know that is a photograph of an entangled pair, you think you're looking at the illustration of yin yang. It has no reference.
That's right. And that's just it. We've got to be able to give the frame of reference, and we have to be willing to give that frame of reference. And even when it comes to sorting data online and things like that, Jimmy. If people aren't willing to give that frame of reference, take that into consideration. You know,
So what do you do? Okay, and this is part of what you do,
mm,
which is helping people do something with the data.
yeah,
So, um, walk us through the process. Okay, let's say I have taken a picture. Okay, let's just start with that. I've taken a
yep.
picture of uh, I- I'm just a shadow figure in my living room. I've taken a picture of this. I saw it. Now I have the picture. What do I do with that?
Well, once you have the picture, of course, connecting yourself with good people in the industry, especially people who have no vested interest, I think is important. Um, Finding people who are not necessarily believers, but are willing to look at data, because once again, that's kind of what you would be looking for a scientist at some point, is somebody to just look at the data and see whether or not it fits the hypothesis that's there, coldly and dispassionately. I think one of the problems is all too often people in the paranormal and other communities consider the data that they have gathered on site as evidence.
Now, what
And
about video?
even with video, it's one of those, you have to be willing to call it data instead of evidence to begin with, like from the jump with science, because it's not evidence. Evidence is what you give your lawyer to keep you out of prison.
That's right.
Like, never let it be less than that, people. Um, Never let that definition of evidence be diminished in your eyes. You have some amazing data that you've passed through a few filters, that you've passed through other researchers, and it's come to a point that you have more questions. So now, yeah, you find somebody who has edited video for 20 or 30 years. And you pass it to them, maybe coldly. As little data as possible is best. Like, I recorded this on this date, this location, this time. You don't need to tell them the circumstances fully. Like, hey, we were on a paranormal investigation. You don't need to say that. But you do need to give them data like, what was the average temperature outside? Was it humid in the room? Things like that. Those kinds of pieces of data for somebody like me who edits audio, video, polishes pictures, and treats pictures. Those things are helpful for us to be able to possibly decode what something is. And if you don't mind, I actually have a video here that will give a quick explanation of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Let's see it.
this is a video that was taken, and I could post this coldly on social media anywhere and be like, I recorded this in my backyard. I would probably get a lot of responses on it. Now, uh, you start adding some data to that. I recorded this in my backyard in Austin, Texas, facing southeast on this date. My camera was pointed in this direction, things like that. And what you're seeing for the listeners out there is this multicolored orb with a hollow center pulsating.
A black hole center.
Yeah, yeah, moving from the top left to the bottom right of the screen slowly and regularly. Um, with that data, given that data, um, somebody could probably pretty quickly interpret the fact that that is the dog star Sirius.
I was going to say it's Beetlejuice. Okay, so
Yeah,
it's serious.
it's
Okay.
Sirius. Shot from my backyard. I'm a backyard astrophotographer, take all kinds of image. That was the last star that I was aligning my telescope to, and it was running away from me as I was trying to get it in the center of frame. And I was like,
I
"Well, this
do
is
that.
just the perfect time to hit record."
Yeah.
Um,
I
because
do that all the time with my telescope in the backyard.
yeah, yeah,
You have to
and
track whatever you're looking at, and you have to. But I did
but
that with Beetlejuice. I did the
yeah,
same thing with
yeah,
Beetlejuice. Observing it, going, man, that thing's changing colors. It's acting strange, and I'm
yeah,
looking at it in the telescope,
yeah. The
and night
undulation
vision.
is the atmospheric aberration of the temperature layers of the Earth. You
It's
know,
fascinating to look at, and then you
it
go and
is.
you throw up your star tracker,
Yeah.
Like, oh man, it's Beetlejuice.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not a mothership.
But if somebody posted that video and was unwilling to give any other data, or unable to give any other data, you kind of have to question that, and you have to be willing to question that, because the one of the issues that we have, and that even science has, like both of our communities have this issue, Jimmy, and that is the issue of want of confirmation married with confirmation bias.
Oh, the wanting to believe
Yeah,
overpowers anything when it comes to facts.
yeah, yeah,
If
exactly,
you, I mean,
exactly.
I've seen videos like that posted, and I'm watching. I don't have the time to do it as much as I would like to, but
Yeah,
looking at the comments from everybody, and without any context, without any information, and you
yeah,
just read through. I knew they were here. Our brothers are visiting. I
our
just
light
like,
brothers.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Not to
yeah.
say
Not
now.
to say
Here's
that's not a thing.
that is it is a thing.
Absolutely.
This is where I want your take on this.
Please.
This is where I'm a little um I play both sides. I see the videos, I see the images, I see the comments. All right. I think there's a natural explanation to 99%. But
Yeah.
I've also seen the craziest shit that I can't explain.
Yep.
So I'm stuck with, well, you know what, man? I've still seen what I've seen, and I know it is going on, but people
Absolutely.
want to believe so bad, including myself.
Yep.
I try to keep myself in check. It's a difficult thing to do, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's a hugely difficult thing to do. And you really do have to uh, the example I give, there's a gentleman here in the Texas community, in one of the para communities, that posts images from his backyard probably about 3-4 nights a week. And it's one of those, like, okay, just from the general description, I can see that you're almost triangulated between a few airports, airstrips, military base, things like that. But it's also the fact of, if this is occurring in your backyard 3 to 4 nights a week, why are we on social media talking about it? Why don't you have it like an observation booth with ticket sales? You know, um, that removes it from the realm of anomaly now and makes it kind of to a scheduled appearance.
The best stuff never makes it to video.
Yeah.
It just it happens too fast. You're not
Well,
prepared.
yeah.
It happens and it's gone.
And that's how I explain it to people when they're like, with all this technology, how come we don't have a clear video of Bigfoot? And I'm like, hey, professional videographer, those things you see tracking a football on NFL, that lens is $60,000. That's why you can track a football moving through the air with precision,
And
because it's
there's
a
no human involved.
$60,000 lens that
Yeah.
always stays in focus. It's not somebody's handy cam.
That's
Uh,
right. That's right.
and
100.
even as a professionally trained videographer, if my camera is not on, not ready, and not on my shoulder, it's gonna take me a couple seconds to get racked up and in focus, and hopefully that experience lasts longer than 10 seconds, because there went 3.5,
And
you know?
ET, yeah, because ET, that's such a good point. ET, I am convinced of this, is consciously entangled into our heads. All right. And so a classic example, and this happens all the time. I'm not planting a flag here. This is not an
Mm,
original story. But I'm standing out with a group of friends, Steve Murillo being one of them. He's standing next to me. And somebody says, this is out in Joshua Tree in the desert on a patio of this cabin we had rented. There's like 10 of us eating pizza, drinking beer, 10 o'clock at night kind of thing. And somebody says, hey, man, wouldn't it be cool if the UFO just appeared? On cue,
yep.
at that moment, from the desert floor, and
Mm,
it lasted a second. In fact, that might even be too long, but about a second. Now, and it was gone. It was observed. But there's no time to take out a cell phone. You're not even
no,
thinking about it. It catches
no.
you by surprise.
Yeah.
And that
It's a true Prince moment where it's like, no, let's live in the moment right now. Put the phone down, be present right here, right now, as this is happening and absorb it, you know?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
because yeah, they happen in fleeting moments. They do not last huge amounts of time. It's rare that you get mass sighting, that you get more than one person witnessing something at the same time, so yeah, and that's why it really is the fact of when it comes to the beginning of any of this, even with science, Jimmy, we have to believe the experiencer first until proven otherwise through that process. We have to believe the experiencer, the person who says, um we have put these systems together and we've found a cavern under the Great Pyramid. We have to believe that until proven otherwise,
Yeah, that's right.
you know?
That's right. It's almost
Um,
religious. It's almost religious.
to an extent,
Yeah, a
because
belief system.
you do have to put yourself out there, and
Mhm.
that's kind of why a lot of scientists don't put themselves out there and why they won't be part of the discussion is because they have to extend themselves for hypothesis, and when that hypothesis is destroyed, it may very well erode other things that they have worked on,
Is
you
there
know?
soft I wanted to ask you this earlier.
Go ahead.
Is there software that a citizen scientist can use to process video and images to analyze so they don't have to go to another person, that they could do this work and research in their own home?
There are a few things out there. You can definitely, especially with audio, there's of course like spectrum analysis, stuff like that to be able to tell. And that takes some time to get good at, reading waveform, that kind of stuff, recognizing what other atmospheric and other electronic conditions may have contributed to what's been captured on an EVP, that kind of thing. But spectral analysis has become a tool that is built into just about every audio editing program now, where you can look at the heat map of a sound and see frequency ranges, things like that. So that's readily available when it comes to videos, photos. Most things like Photoshop will do things like convolution mapping, stuff like that,
What is
where
that? What is convolution mapping?
that's basically where it's popping a layer on, but it's also telling it's gonna take an object and split it from the background, and if it's a three-dimensional object, it's gonna provide shadow, things like that. Like, you'll see, like, a beveled edge pop up around it, that kind of stuff. So there are a few techniques like that that you can use. Sadly, there's a lot, even though we have a lot of things available to us in the digital world, Jimmy, um, people forget the fact that your cell phone camera actively has algorithms to correct things, you know? So your cell phone camera, sometimes if it can't figure something out, will place artifacts there, things like that. There is a great realm of metadata, though, that is embedded in most digital videography and videography. So you can really, and that's that kind of like the what was it? It was the Lou Elizondo picture of the chandelier
Oh God.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
Greenwald from the Black Vault looked at the metadata and put it through processes and found out where it came from. But those kind of metadata details, things like that, those are regularly used by MUFON investigators, stuff like that, to be able to tell the point of origin, possibly even like if the location data on your device is on, it'll actively show where the picture was taken on the metadata, all kinds of things. So
Now, what about citizen scientists that wants to look at a video that is making the rounds and um, proving or disproving, debunking or not video, because there's so much with AI that is
there is,
available
man.
to us
It
now.
is. It's frightening, kind of. And I have a few friends who have worked in major media industry and movies and things like that. And even now, even though they're believers, they're like, I believe no video I see now.
Yeah, you
Like
can't.
and like I did 3D graphics, you know. They're like, I believe nothing I see.
Have
Because
you
it's
seen?
getting
Have you?
entirely too real. And yeah,
Yeah.
there are some issues though that you can spot, things like that. I mean, number one, like we were saying, the steadiness of a shot, the shakiness of a shot, stuff like that. There are things that when you start looking at the logic of stuff, you know, kind of like one of the examples I give is the submarine images that have been making their rounds over the last year, from the supposed Arctic mission, stuff like that, where it's like, this is interesting. There's a lot of steam coming off of this vehicle that wouldn't really be there according to accounts of UFOs. It seems like it's making a really, really big splash in the water, and that's really not what they've been described as doing when they're
Right.
transmedium, things like that. So
You know what? For
applying
me,
logic to a lot of things, and just that logic filter, and getting to the point of, once again, being willing to accept that there should only be a 1 to 5% anomaly. There should only, or 3 to 5 is better. A 3 to 5
I
percentile should be something that you're like, that is absolutely weird and it needs further investigation.
it goes beyond that for me.
Go
And
ahead.
again, I'm not being cavalier,
No, no.
but when you go and see they're comedy videos of Bigfoot, right? And they're all over the place right now. Bigfoot camping,
Oh, yeah,
Bigfoot.
yeah, the Bigfoot AI. They're great.
Yeah.
They're
The Bigfoot
classic.
AI, and and they're cranking them out. They must be doing, that team, 5 or 10 of those a day, and they're
Yeah.
doing it, and they're great, right? They're
They're
great.
they're incredible.
They're
Incredible.
incredible. And so you look at that, and okay, all right, but that's where I back up and go, if that is that easy and it looks that good, everything's off the table now. Everything's
Absolutely.
bullshit. Everything is bullshit. I just don't, it's just too good.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really does bring up that whole Project Bluebeam concept, just of
100%.
just of
100%.
yeah, that as a means of control of a population to have fake things like that. And yeah, it really does bring about a huge issue when it comes to vetting material, because and this is something that I bring up on the show all the time with our security professional whenever he comes on. Like, at what point do you, Lou Elizondo, stop vetting material from your vetted sources?
Or did he vet ever to begin with?
There's that, you know.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, we're having a lot of this conversation right now because of people like Lou Elizondo.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, no doubt. However, you do have to quite, like, there were a couple right there slammed back to back within a couple few months from his touring presentation where it was like, hey, my man, that is no anomaly whatsoever. Like, as somebody who works in hotel ballrooms for a living, it was not hard for me to tell that that was the reflection of a chandelier in a hotel ballroom.
Yeah, and that
It happened pretty
agriculture,
quick as soon as I saw it with
the
the
the the agriculture
yeah,
ring,
yeah,
that, and
so
years ago, I'm not here to rag on Lou,
no,
but
no,
he's
no,
no, he's an easy target. He's a friend of mine. He's been in a movie with me, and
yeah,
so forth.
absolutely.
All right, and he's been on the show multiple times.
I
But
respect him hugely.
I don't. But I used to. No, I'm even saying that wrong. What he has done to elevate
Yes,
the
to bring
question,
the conversation forward.
can't measure that. Can't measure
Yeah,
that. But years ago, this is probably 2018, right in there, 2018, 2019. He's over in Italy doing a presentation with a
mhm,
translator. And in that presentation, he shows the photograph from the cover of Fate magazine showing the
Yep.
Capitol building with the UFOs over the cap. And anybody in ufology knows that those lights in the sky were the reflections of the parking lights in the parking lot on street pole right in front, and that was flashed on the lens of the camera. That's what that was. But he shows, and the words that came out of his mouth as he's showing that on the screen, he says, "This is an actual photograph of the 1952 UFO flap over Washington, D.C." And I'm watching this print, and I'm like, dude, you can't,
Yeah.
and it wasn't, and this is the excuse that I have for him. He doesn't know. He doesn't have any knowledge. He hasn't researched, he hasn't done the deep dive into UFO history, or he would have known that that was the cover of Fate magazine and a movie poster at one point too, as well. Dude, but what can he do? It's just because he doesn't have, you and I, Chris, and I mean this in a very sincere way. You and I have spent a lifetime researching this subject. So we have a deep, deep understanding of so many cases and personalities and things and images and videos. And we've been through the ups and downs of ufology that has gone on around us for decade after decade after decade. Lou doesn't have any of that experience. None of it.
No.
None of
he
it.
has plenty, but once again, he has plenty of field intelligentsia experience. So at what point do you stop vetting the picture from your vetted source as far as intelligentsia goes? And that's my hard question. Because even whenever my security guy brings me stuff, I ask for more bona fides.
Right.
Well,
so where is the guy around him like you? Where is the guy around him like me that can go, dude, take this slide out of your presentation?
Dude. We all need a red team. Every one of us needs a red team that we are willing to listen to implicitly. And when they poke a hole in it and it starts sinking, we go, okay. Because we've got the term in science is, quote, killing your darlings. The idea of, yes, this is my hypothesis. I've spent 3 years on it. Johnny over here just came up with some great data. And unfortunately, I've really got to rethink my hypothesis. Like, it's got to go back to the ground floor. And that's 3 years of work and data just gone that I have to rework.
Absolutely.
But you've got to be willing to do that. And even when it comes to a paranormal experience, even when it comes to having a picture, like I entered the Catholic seminary because I had a religious experience, Jack. Like I was ready to go down the real rabbit hole. You know what I mean? But it was my religious experience that brought me to that.
When I was 20 years old, 21, I'm in Pasadena. I'm 21, man. I'm just old enough to drink, right?
Yeah.
And somebody hands me a book about Christians versus Catholics, and it's a Christian book, and the conspiracy of the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And it's a paperback. So I get the book. Like, you need to read this. No, I was baptized Catholic. I'm not religious, never been religious, but okay. So anyway, so I get the book and I'm reading it. And a couple of things were pointed out that I went and checked and were factually correct. It wrecked me.
Yeah.
I didn't leave my room for like a month.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just like, is it all a lie? What's real? Oh man, it wrecked me.
Absolutely. And but that's just it. That's what any of these experiences do. The analogy I give is when you have a paranormal experience, be it UFO, UAP, cryptid, ghost, parapsychological, what have you, there is that moment of ontologic shock that happens.
Totally.
that everything to be has ceased to be, and it's like somebody has taken a crowbar to the keyhole through which you have been viewing the world and has just pried that keyhole open to another diameter,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
You
it-
have to be ready for it. My
yeah,
roommates, Chris, they're knocking on the door. Jimmy, you want to come out and eat dinner? I was like, go away, just go away.
leave me be.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
talk
coalesce
to
the
me
world
next
again.
week. Yeah, man. Yeah, and you have to be ready for that.
You
And
do. You do. And but here's the thing, um, and even that point of revelation of reading that book for you, um, does not remove everything that the church brought you to understand. Doesn't remove everything that every beautiful experience you had with your family inside of a church and the way that made you feel, you know? Coming to a point in my life where I research more esoteria than I do teach Sunday school on a Wednesday, you know, or confirmation class anymore, um, doesn't mean that my religious experience inside the bounds of a church didn't happen, you
right,
know? And
right.
should it be the fact that someday I'm, like, examined and they're like, "Hey, Chris, you know that weird instance you talked about with, like, orange light and muffled sound and being said like, that was a petit mal seizure." Um, that doesn't remove that experience and how it made me feel.
That's right.
Like,
We have that the very same thing goes on all the time in the UFO community,
yeah,
all the time. And with something like your belief system and but we are so used to being torn down and
yeah,
that
that's right.
finding out a conspiracy is true when it's supposed to have been an untruth.
Yeah,
These things really mess with people's heads. And then
absolutely.
you find out that somebody in the UFO community, like we were just talking about Lou, but it could be so many others,
Anybody.
where you've got so much invested into that, their evidence and the personality. And then you find out that it's just like, oh man,
Yeah.
what's going
Well,
on? I don't know what to believe because you have
the
your own experience that
yep,
you went through,
yeah.
right? Yeah, it's messed up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly, exactly. And you know, it can scarily lead to dangerous places, Jimmy. You know, I mean, one of the scary I did a whole episode on it. The Corey Good and that whole situation
Yeah,
when it
don't
came
even
out. I
that's
know.
not allowed to
I
be
know.
mentioned on this show.
It's rough.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
rough. And
yeah.
those things happen. They happen regularly. Like, hey, I'm a former on-air producer for Alex Jones, man. I was
Mhm,
right there after everything went down.
mhm.
So yeah, it these things happen and they're out there and they have huge, huge change waves in communities when they happen. So we
It's
have to
that
be willing to accept the story of a believer, but also
right.
the data when it comes around the corner, and that data does not remove the experience of the believer,
Well,
you know?
isn't that the best reason that you could present to trust your own eyeballs,
Yeah,
trust your own instincts, trust yourself. Go out there and look for stuff to
that's
compare
right.
it to,
That's right.
and data and analysis. But first and foremost, trust yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that is something that in our society it's hard to allow. That's a When I was speaking on the remote viewing cruise this last year, the first question I was asked was why I enjoy remote viewing so much. And I was like, as a man in America, I am allowed to write down my initial impressions and thoughts on a piece of paper and not be judged by them. Uh, just the idea
That's good.
of being able to openly
Right.
share what is going on in my head without fear of repercussion, you know? Hey, I went to this place, I saw this, this is what I smelled, this is what I felt, and nobody in that room is gonna judge me any differently for that experience, you know?
I
Um,
um I was hosting a conference a couple of months ago, and it was great. It was an amazing conference. But so I go into, I'm not going to say who, what, where, or why. I'm not going to do that.
sure.
But there was a remote viewing presentation and a soft teaching. Not nothing too, comprehensive or technical.
Sure.
But I was curious. So anyway, I introduced the presenter, and then I just kind of kicked back and watched the presentation and how this was walked through with everybody. It was probably 2 hours. But at the end, and I watched the whole thing, man. You know, I didn't participate. I was just observing, right?
Sure.
But just checking this out. And then the reveal happens with what people were drawing. Okay.
Yeah, the
And
feedback.
some had 10 drawings, 20 drawings, right? But like the last thing, and so they're being shown. And then which I didn't know this at the time, but I was looking at, everybody was like swinging to nature. And there was this one cat in the back that had this beautiful mountain scene with these trees, right? But I thought he was so off base. But I wasn't participating.
Sure.
But anyway, so she does the reveal. Bing! And it was Mount Kilimanjaro.
Oh, wow.
And I'm looking at, and I turn around and I'm looking at what I'm like, it's the same frigging drawing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like,
I am,
and he had never done it before. He was crying.
yeah.
He couldn't.
Yeah. No, I would say I'm a C student when it comes to remote viewing.
Right. That's good.
Just like high school and college, straight average. But my first sessions like dropped my jaw. And even when I had Angela Thompson Smith as my monitor on the remote viewing
She's
crew,
amazing.
she's an awesome person. She's just an amazing human being to begin with. But the session that we were doing, it was called an outbounder, where you basically tie into somebody that's on a location. And we were supposed to be picking up the environment, things like that. And I start drawing something else. I ended up drawing the piece of art that was on the wall in the location, not the location,
right.
The actual piece of art that was on the wall.
That's freaky deaky, man.
So it was interesting to see that, and just the idea of, once again, to loop this back to the beginning of the conversation, that idea of quantum entanglement and us all being connected. Like, by all 9th grade science, Jimmy, you and I are sharing an electron shell right now.
Yeah. No, that's the beauty of where technology has taken us today.
Yeah.
And I think it's different than radio. Now, I've done radio. I've done terrestrial radio, right? Where I've gone in, I'm in a studio, and it's radio waves going out. That's one thing. But this is a different concept altogether.
Yeah.
And I've always felt that those that are listening live to this show, it goes out live on a bunch of different networks, right? We use YouTube just for the chat room, but it's going out, all over the place. And that is a quantum connection straight into the eyeballs and the brain and the frontal lobes of everybody.
Well,
and I really feel that. I think it's a powerful thing to happen.
Jimmy, the beautiful thing about that, really and truly, is the quantum field of manifestation that you are putting out there nightly, my friend. The idea that not only, because this is something that I explain to my wife all the time. Make no mistake, everybody, the world is just as horrible as it's always been. The only difference is now you wake up with the news from Poughkeepsie in the palm of your hand. That's the only difference. We're all connected in this quantum way through that electron field bubble that we were just talking about. So the difference is now there's a reverberation through that bubble because of the direct connection to the horribleness that we're all seeing in the world daily that we didn't used to see. Can
you imagine if we had the internet? Everything. Well, if we had the internet during World War II, having that stuff in real time, live streaming,
oof, like we could at the beginning of the Ukraine war, where it was like just live streams,
Iraq, 1991. Remember that was CNN.
I remember the Al Franken jokes. with him with the
Man,
satellite dish on his head.
that
But
messed with
yeah,
me.
that was our first time that we were connected in real time. I mean, we had war correspondence, things like that during Vietnam, Korea, all kinds of stuff. But that was like news you can use like on once a week, stuff like that. It wasn't live streaming 24/7 in your face all day. Like, yeah, the Iraq invasion in the 90s was really the first time that we were connected 24/7 to that kind of feed. And when you start thinking about that in terms of kind of like the MIT egg experiment that happened,
Yep.
that kind of stuff, you know, the
Mhm.
quantum connection of
Mhm.
mentality,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
the whole way that that egg experiment like peaked before 9/11,
Yep.
strangely, like they
Yep.
all just
Off the
dialed in at
chart.
the same time, off the
Off
chart.
the charts. Yeah.
Yeah, and once again, to loop it back to Dean Radin, uh,
Yeah, I know.
like,
It's totally Dean Radin.
but it's interesting to see that connection, and when you start thinking about the way that we are now connected in a different way, aside from that natural, organic, physical way, that our vibration, when it's perturbed, is perturbing somebody 3, 4 houses down the road without us even realizing it. You know, so
The
you putting this information out there, man, you having these conversations, bringing up the vibration, the good vibration, not because there's 1,001 people out there, man, that talk horrible conspiracy, that talk these things in a negative way, that bring about negative, horrible vibrations from it. That is not you. You very much are like me. You want to have a deeper conversation with researchers. You want to talk with experiencers, and you want to help demystify these things to a larger audience, not rabbit hole on the conspiracy. You know,
well,
that is
I think
totally
at some
unproductive.
point, I figured out and started to figure out, I should say, but the same thing that everybody else is starting to get a grip with, and that is entanglement once again and consciousness
Yeah.
and what drives the universe.
Yeah.
That is the reality that we are just now starting to understand. I
Yeah.
totally get that. And negative and positive, and what you attract and what you bring to you, and how the universe
Absolutely.
responds back to that. That is, I I think, so fundamental to the universe and to existence. Something
Yeah.
that maybe the our ancients probably fully understood. Hence the
Sure.
yin and yang.
Yeah. Yeah. And something that we in communities have to understand when it comes to approaching science and talking with science. You know, the idea that we have to come to them with them in mind. You know, we can't come at them abrasively. If you come at anybody abrasively, it's not gonna that's not a conversation to begin with.
No, it's
Um,
dangerous. It's
yeah, yeah,
dangerous. It's dangerous.
exactly. The example is, that's the second NASA panel that happened, because they had the first NASA panel, then the second one, the head of the NASA panel had to get up and spend the first 5 minutes about like, "You know what's not productive? Attacking scientists online, saying that they're part of a 50-year conspiracy to hide data when they've only been part of this program for 5 years." Uh,
Kind of
like,
like flat Earth.
yeah,
Just
well,
goes,
it's one of those, like,
well,
you're
you know what?
telling
It's
people that they
unproductive.
need to be involved, and once they get involved, you attack them,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
Well,
that's
okay.
counterproductive.
Wait, Chris. But
Go ahead.
here's the problem. Here's the problem. I loved growing up in the space race. All
Same.
right. Now you're Houston, man. You are Houston. We have a problem.
That's right.
That's your life, right? Okay. So I loved that. I loved the
Yeah.
entire experience, sitting on my uncle's lap watching Apollo 11 land on TV with the whole family in the living room, and
Wow.
dude, it was
Yeah.
amazing, right? Amazing, amazing. And then I go to the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum in Washington, and I go
Yep.
see the Apollo 11 capsule. And I walked up and I looked inside of that and I said, this thing never went to the moon. Bullshit. No way. No way. And I developed that on my own. This wasn't any
Yeah,
moon
yeah,
hoax thing or whatever.
yeah.
I just backed up and went, man, there's a couple of levers. some switches, but wait a minute here. No. And now I got stuck in between what I experienced as a child, in the moon landing and how much I enjoyed it. And I'm starting to look at, and then I go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And I'm still in the middle. I still don't know which way to go with that. I don't. I see the pictures of what was it called? The lunar,
the Chandratha.
The doom buggy.
Yeah.
What was it called?
Oh, I can't even remember off
the rover, the lunar rover, the lunar rover. I see the pictures of that, right? I see the tire tracks, right? And it's there. And it's almost not enough for me. It's like I feel
like even a few years ago when the Indian observatory went around the moon and took the pictures of the Apollo 11 landing site, like complete with shadow from the landing capsule, like from moon base. It's like, yeah, there's still
not enough.
Still tough.
Not enough.
Still tough.
Not enough. They fake that too. I don't know. It's like
they could. And according to a lot of articles coming out right now, maybe they have and they've continued to.
Well, okay. So, man, we blew past the commercial. We'll get to it. But going back to your point, the NASA, press conferences, when they did that press conference like 7 years ago, and I know what I'm about to mention, but when that engineer said, well, we'll make it back to the moon when we overcome the obstacles of the Van Allen belt and figure out how we can. I'm like, wait. You already did that.
Yeah.
You overcame those obstacles with Apollo 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15.
The problem was in the 50s, 60s. We really didn't care, Jack. Like we were still blowing up Bikini Atoll,
Yeah, that's true.
Like, on a regular basis.
But so if we look at, the radiation and what they're considering now and how to safely transport astronauts there and what we got to do with the capsule and the new spacesuits and all, it's like, wait a minute. These astronauts weren't dropping dead of cancer.
No. But you still want to take measures.
But is somebody stretching the truth?
Could be. And there is always that realm of possibility. You've got to leave the area open for discussion. And that's just it. Even with science, it's the fact of you've got to leave the area open for discussion. It's called the theory of evolution for a reason. We have very, very partialized skeletons amongst that thing. It's not called the fact of evolution.
Well, okay. So I love that. I brought that up like a month ago on the show.
Yeah. Bring up a picture of the actual skeletons and you'll see like, here's a rib bone. Here's part of a femur. Here's a toe. Like that's a skeleton amongst the evolutionary line. It's like
with a lot of missing puzzle parts.
Yeah.
So, speaking of press conferences, so you go back to the original, the first time the Apollo 11 crew goes out and starts taking questions from the press.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, the day before they were in that ticker tape parade, right? In New York, in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Right. Crazy. Right. And they go into that press conference. They were heroes and their dicks were in the dirt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They were upset. They were mad. They were sad. There wasn't nobody was smiling. And it was like, why this attitude of abrasiveness?
I will always say we stopped going to the moon because we were asked to stop going to the moon by the moon people.
Yeah, could be.
We were invited to not come back, basically. So yeah, I think it's the fact of they probably had some revelation or saw some things up there that they were just not allowed to talk about.
Are you okay with that?
For them would be soul crushing. would be
Are you
soul
okay
crushing.
with that theory? Are you okay with that theory?
I'm okay with that hypothesis, yeah, because
Yeah.
it's the fact that if you are somebody who has done something, I mean, number one, anybody who's been up there does not deny the blue dot experience and the fact of it will leave you awestruck and it will leave you in a way that much like any paranormal experience, you cannot define.
It's kind of
Like
like
even putting it
Occam's
into
razor.
words is hard.
It's Occam's razor. It's
Yeah.
almost like the simplest reason why we didn't go back. Not budget. It's not wasn't whatever the excuses that were made public.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense. Just stopping Apollo. We had no feel. We were guaranteed certain things as kids, weren't we? We
Yeah.
were guaranteed a hotel on the moon.
Yep.
That we were going to be
I
going
still
out
want
there.
my Jetsons car.
We were made those promises, right? A hotel and orbiting
That's right.
Earth and all of these things that didn't come. And we had been spoon-fed the Skylab mission, the space shuttle. Now you're
Yep.
from Houston, you know this, and the space shuttle was built and designed right down the street from my house, right there. The
Yeah.
original 747 that right with the things that sits right next to my house. It's pretty cool
Yeah.
to go see.
That's epic.
Anyway, the space shuttle was designed to go between the Earth and the moon.
Yep.
That's what it was. It wasn't designed to do it. It was designed to get to the moon base. And all of a sudden, everything stopped, a screeching halt.
Yeah.
Here's Skylab. I don't give a crap about Skylab. I mean, it was just like the dumbest thing.
What happened to the floating rock? Yeah.
Yes. Skylab.
Yeah.
Please. But
Well,
yeah, man, maybe it was ET. Maybe that whole they're on the edge, they're on the rim watching us. Remember that?
Yeah. Exactly. And I think experiences like that, I would not put back the fact that we found something on the moon, that other things came back other than just regolith and rocks,
What about citizen scientists? Let's stay
Sure.
right here. Man, what was the movie came out like 2 years ago about the moon being hollow and it was the alien space station? Was it Moonfall? What was that called?
Oh, I can't even remember.
Somebody in the chat,
got-
on. Somebody in the chat will man, that was such a fantastic movie.
I've got the Nazi moon movie in my
that
head.
was good too. Oh,
that was fun. That was a fun one.
What
But,
was it
I mean-
called? Bill, give me the name. Not Moonraker. That was 007.
Oh, yeah.
What was it called? Anyway, it'll pop up.
Yeah.
I'll let those guys do it.
when
What
it comes-
about the idea that not Iron Sky? Yes, I know. Iron Sky is the movie that you're talking about.
Yeah.
That was great. Not Iron Sky. Moonfall is it? Is that what it was called? Moonfall? Okay. I had it the first time. What about the idea that the moon is artificial and it was brought here and towed here for us?
Could be. There is definitely that strange moment of ringing on the moon when things impacted. All kinds of stuff. I don't know. That's a big tater, and one of those that I highly consider much like the speed of light, things like that. Until proven otherwise, it's a thought experiment.
You know why I kind of buy into it?
Go ahead.
It's too perfect.
It is. And as somebody who's a backyard astronomer and takes pictures of the night sky, things like that, it is perfect. It is absolutely perfect. There is nowhere else that we have found where that kind of perfect, like you ain't going to get a solar eclipse like that on Mars.
Perfect.
You won't. You won't.
No. Perfect.
It is in lockstep with us as opposed to most other moons that are in orbital step where it's spinning and rotating while we're spinning and rotating, it's in locked motion with us.
It's perfect, and it keeps
So
the beef stew on the stove that is our oceans just
Yeah.
stirred. It's
Yeah.
just always
perfectly
stirring.
perfectly stirred.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's just it. The tidal motion is something that is, really, really fascinating. The regularity of the tidal motion, where it's not too much, um, it is
And that's
interesting,
when
and
that's where I tap into, and then we'll take a break right here. But
yeah.
that's where I tap into the idea, and I don't think I'm going out on a limb, that the odds of that happening naturally, its diameter, its position, its distance from us, the way
Literally
that it faces.
astronomical.
Yeah.
Literally astronomical odds. Yeah,
Yeah. It's just like, man, I don't know.
yeah.
Okay, it
And
could be.
that's why it's a thought experiment that I will rabbit hole on for days sometimes, because yeah, it's something that I will always give credence to and always be willing to have that philosophic argument, because there's a lot there. Like when you start looking at things like that, there's a lot there. There's a
Man,
lot
I
there.
love your RE20. I have one
Oh,
sitting right
thank you.
over there, and man, he sounds so good. I almost want to get my RE20 back into play. You sound good, man. Okay, let's take our break right
Let's
here.
do that.
Our guest tonight, Chris Jordan, need to get our break in, having a great conversation. So we blew past the commercial break. We'll do that right now. Chris, stay right there. This is Fade to Black. We'll be right back. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get your alerts and access to over 2,000 videos. Click that subscribe button right now. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and get the Fade to Black official podcast. 2,000 episodes, all of them commercial free for just $2 a month. Watch Into the Vortex on Gaia TV. It's Fade to Black for the screen. Simple to do. Go to Gaia.com, search Jimmy Church, or click on the link below. Follow Fade to Black on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Get all of the show updates every single day. It's now called X, but who cares? How you doing? Jimmy Church here. Special announcement. Get your Fade to Black t-shirts. That's right. Help support the show. Help support everything that we do over here. We've got 2 t-shirts. We've got 2 ways to get them. Get your Fade to Black t-shirt today. Go Backley Tappy. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and become a Fadernaut. Get a membership. That's right. Everything is commercial free. You have access to downloads, and you get to call yourself a Fadernaut. Jimmy Church, Gaia TV, Fade to Black, here at Machu Picchu with Brian Forster and Hidden Inca Tours. Amazing tour so far, Brian, but we're here to announce what we're going to do next year in 2026. What's going on?
Okay, November 2026, we're going to have our major tour of Peru and Bolivia, either a pre or post tour of Paracas and Nazca on the coast. And then after that, 6 days in Easter Island.
Bucket list, Easter Island. Come join Brian and I and his amazing team here at Hidden Inca Tours for Peru, Bolivia, and Easter Island. Signing out. Say goodbye, Brian.
Bye, gang.
River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. All right. Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Chris Jordan is with us, and we're talking about the citizen scientist is you. Fantastic conversation tonight. And Chris, what I wanted to ask you is growing up, I was intimidated by math. I wasn't a good math student.
Same.
I failed.
Horrible.
Yeah. And today, for those out there that look at the very intimidating side of physics, cosmology, the size of the universe, the numbers that are presented today are just, it's very difficult for physicists and scientists to wrap their head around, let alone us, right? Members of the community. How do we sidestep that intimidation of numbers and physics and science and embrace it more and try to comprehend what's going on? How do we do that?
Well, number one, you're never going to eat an elephant one bite at a time, Jimmy. It's got to be baby steps. It's got to be small concepts. It's got to be things and nuggets of data that you can process and that you can grasp and move on from there. You know, even as somebody who spent my years in a classroom working with kids, things like that, we all learn in a different way. We all learn at a different rate, even in the same classroom, you know? So understanding yourself, understanding how you process data, what you are good at, you know, like, hey, not every scientist on a scientific team is the math dude. You know, some people are the physical observation person. Some people,
the logic,
yeah. So, knowing the fact that science does not occur in a vacuum. It cannot occur in a vacuum. You cannot be investigating this stuff on your. You can investigate it on your own. However, there's going to come a point where you need to get other opinions from people, and you need to be able to have somebody that you can value that opinion enough that once again, when they go, hey, this is what I think it is, that you can respect their opinion, you know, and understand the fact that their opinion on that data does not remove your experience when you gathered that data.
How much do we depend on a scientist or a physicist, even a biologist or a chemist, their interpolation of the data? You know,
I like
because
your
we
use
don't
of interpolation because
that's exactly what's happening.
Exactly. And you know, you should be able to trust it fairly well. I would say. I mean, most scientists are going to be looking at things in a dispassionate way. I can't think of a scientist that you would bring unless you brought it to them again in a very confrontational way or something that is purposefully blowing in the face of them. And one of the things that I encourage anybody, I don't care if you are a paranormal investigator, cryptozoology especially, folks. If you are out there bigfooting, if you have trail cameras, get a hold of your local wildlife department, get a hold of your local biology department at the college. There's some kid that could be using those pictures for graduate work, all kinds of stuff. You could be helping contribute to local bear counts, local deer counts, all kinds of things in their area. Do you realize what a local wildlife program would give to have a dedicated person in a location of a 5-mile radius once a month every month with 5 trail cameras, that's a grant. That's literally a grant for a
Right.
program, you know, and you're out there doing it for free. So if you start telling them that, hey, I know this may not be like what I'm doing may not interest you, but I would love to give you my data. I would love to just give you my raw pictures every month so that you can use them for your wildlife count programs, things like that. At that point, you are shaking hands with them in a different way. And when you come to them with an anomaly and just go, hey, you know those trail cameras? I ran across a weird picture the other day. You mind looking at this for me? They're going to look at you in a different light. They're going to treat you in a totally different light than if you just out of the blue came to them and said, hey, I'm out here in the San Juan Valley all the time. I got trail cams. Look at this weird picture I got.
The idea of interdimensional
Ooh,
reality
yeah,
is a concept now that is starting to be understood. The concept of it is starting to be understood.
yeah,
But our community has been talking about this for a very, very long
very
time,
long time.
not fully understanding what
Sure.
we were saying, right? Oh, it's stealth, it's disappearing and appearing, it's or
Yeah,
whatever. But we were making these observations and seeing this, and now the idea of extra dimensions and an interdimensional component to so much
yeah,
of our
yeah,
life, whether it's Bigfoot or an
yep,
object in the sky, the things appearing from a parallel world, the multiverse, whatever but science had always talked about these concepts, but it never, wormholes and folding space
yeah,
and all of it, but it never merged into our community. But now we're starting to see that, and this
yeah,
is the problem with it for me, is that a member of our community in the past would see a whiteboard or chalkboard in a physics lab covered with all of this math. And then you're depending on the physicists, the scientists to step back and say, okay, this represents a wormhole. Well, dude, it's
sure.
math to me. How are you interpolating, right?
Yeah,
All of that math into these other concepts, but yet our community has always been talking about it.
yeah.
And that's the thing. How do we get past that intimidation of what the math is and the trust that we need to put into a physicist to tell us what that math means?
Sure, sure. And once again, that trust for math is a beautiful thing. It's a great thing. Um, we also have to remember though that a lot of that stuff, especially when it comes to physics, quantum physics, that is once again thought experiment. It's hypothesis of hypothesis, and that's the beautiful part of science, is that you're allowed to hypothesize any crazy possibility. It's through experimentation and testing that we just prove or disprove the hypothesis, and even the idea of quantum leaking into that. Man, one of the things I talk about regularly, so regularly that I have a rote turn of phrase for it, Jimmy, and that is that I believe that there is a large hominid species known as Sasquatch roaming the woods of North America and beyond. But I also think that there is something else out there that is firmly willing to use the trope of our minds, be it Sasquatch, Dogman, alien, ghost, what have you, as a point of consent to entrance into our dimension. So
Wow, that's heavy.
it is.
Woo!
It is. But there's two separate phenomena. There is the physical craft, something that is coming from another place, but then there's also this psionically summoned concept, the CE5 concept, Chris Bledsoe, people like that who will be at Psy Games. Chris Bledsoe will be doing a night watch at Psy Games, and I cannot wait to be a part of that. Um, and even that comes to bear of the fact of like as a former rope sitting right over my shoulder right now is the rite of exorcism Um, and as a former seminarian, it's one of those,
Oh man.
are we through a CE5 experience, can we guarantee that what is
Ye-
coming through has no ill intent? That it isn't hijacking the trope of our mind, and Earl Grey is a prime example. From SoCal MUFON, his experience was one of being abducted and taken and experimented on and things like that. When he was horribly frightened, that was invited. He
Well,
invited that
but
experience.
we have to take that roll of the dice.
We do,
It's
we
so
do. Once
so many
again,
of
we
us
need
are
more
willing.
Magellans. We need more Magellans.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I mean, I don't know if
it's a
when
it's a
I'm out
it's an
with
it's an odd line to walk, though.
it is, because if I'm out with friends and we've got our night vision and we're
Yeah,
doing a kumbaya moment and cooking out and got Van Halen playing and we're ready to call in some craft,
yeah.
none of us are considering what we're calling in. We don't give a crap. We're willing to take that chance,
Yeah,
but
and
you don't know, do you? You really
no,
don't.
no, you don't, and that's something that at least has to be taken into consideration data point wise, and even experientially, because when it comes to that, when it comes to the idea of manifestation, when it comes to the idea of even being able to manifest things in your daily life, stuff like that, moving the universe, um, it's strange that's there and that it's a thing. And it's even more strange when you start adding to the fact of, if you're a paranormal investigator and you are getting ready to go on an investigation tomorrow, for example, to a known haunted location, should you necessarily be watching movies or watching YouTube videos about
Right,
that
right, right,
location?
right.
I'm of the mind that you should have a rote checklist, put it away, and go watch stand-up comedy for the night. Something like
Not a
that.
bad idea.
Think
Yeah,
about something totally different, because if you're going down the rabbit hole of where you're going, you're only polishing the filter through which you're gonna look at your data.
that's right. That's
You're
right.
no longer going in with a scientific mindset at that point. You're going in with a preconceived notion. And now you're trying to gather data to prove your preconceived notion. And that's not science. And science doesn't like that. They would like you
I,
to just rawly gather data and come to a conclusion through the data, instead of trying to cull your data to fit your purpose, which is what you can absolutely end up doing by doing so. Not only that, you may be, in a very psychic way, Jimmy, actively charging that atmosphere and charging that location for your
have you
specific
had
experience.
have you had a bad experience, a frightening experience?
I've had a few experiences like that in my life. I've had a few shadow person experiences in my life that were more than frightening. One of which was where a shadow person actively grabbed me. And that was probably one of the most frightening moments of my life that I will never ever forget. Um, yeah, yeah.
No, I'm
So
with you.
I've
I'm with
been
you.
there. I've been there. I've had, once again, the beautiful experience of religious experience that brought me to want to follow a path of God, and experience like that at the same time. I've had experiences on paranormal investigations where um power was cut off to a location, and cash registers turned on and opened. Things like that. Strange things, odd things. I was literally interviewing Travis Walton in Roswell, New Mexico 2 weeks ago for the UFO festival, and in the middle of first interview of the day, brand new batteries. Battery went from 100% to 10 and cut off in the middle of the interview. We had to change batteries. Um, so yeah, and it's one of those, like, brand new, not even just like newly charged batteries. Like, I bought these batteries about a month ago. Like, they're new batteries. So it's not like I'm
Right.
kicking around with batteries I've been using for 5 years, Like I buy batteries every year and then I keep them regularly charged. So yeah, anomalies like that happen, and I'm fully willing to consider them. I'm fully willing to take them into consideration. But I'm also fully willing to accept an explanation. May just be a bad sell. Who knows? It was just a really weird coincidence that I was in the middle of interviewing Travis Walton, one of the most known abducted people, and that happened. And that's something that happens around him and that happens around experiencers. And that's
It's the
something.
paranormal. It's the
Yeah.
paranormal world. When I was
Well,
sportscasting, I
yep.
sportscasted for 3 years, radio, and never had an issue. None. Ever.
Yep.
Nothing.
Yep.
Nothing. Start doing this. It was like
With
the first
regularity.
day I broadcast. Yeah. And I remember just getting so angry, like ready to tip stuff over and what's going and then
Yeah.
again and again and again. And you just have to accept it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just you just got to go with it. I remember this is on Coast to Coast. I'm doing an interview and this is Coast to Coast. I'm in the Coast to Coast studios. Very high tech. Okay. Nice setup. Anyway, I'm there and I'm doing the interview and I hear in my headphones this. Get him off the air. And right? And now the person I was interviewing, I don't know if they heard it, but my engineer who's sitting in front of me in the studio, right at the mixing console,
Yeah.
he looked straight at me. And I take off my headphones like this because I thought it was in the studio, right? Like live. And I said, let's Jimmy Church, Coast to Coast AM. We'll be right back. Right. We went straight to commercial. We're like, what the fuck? Right. Well, what was that? I don't know. And they backed up he's listening to what was being broadcast out. And he goes back to that spot and it didn't broadcast. It didn't go out over the air.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so,
wow. So it was on talkback mic.
Well,
that's
and
crazy.
He's got to, as an engineer. It's
yeah, no,
FCC.
he's got to push the talkback mic button for that to come over the circuit.
He has to log it.
Yeah.
This is the FCC. So this all goes into the log.
Wow.
And Premier Radio. Chris, this is, I'm just telling, I don't even know if I've told the story.
That's
Premier brings in all these engineers and they're going through everything. How can somebody break into our system and do this? And they go through everything. They can't find any issues. I'm doing emails. I'm explaining, what I heard and what was going on. It was absolutely bizarre. It didn't go out over the air. I remember coming back off of the commercial break and I was just really thrown off my game. Because when you're doing a show like that, you've done this enough yourself. When you're doing a show like that, you need to be focused, razor sharp. You're not muffing words. You're not muffing thoughts. Everything is just, professional.
Yeah.
And I was thrown off my game, man.
Oh,
I couldn't think. It was bizarre. And we never got to the bottom of that. We never figured it out.
Well, the cool thing is it's actively in federal logs out there. That's pretty cool that it's actively in FCC logs.
Man,
because that's
now. So this is where I kind of go with this. We were talking about this earlier. It's electromagnetic. There's something there. There's a force. There's an energy that likes electronics.
Yep.
EVP phenomena is an example.
That is one. That's one that really and truly brought me into there are a few things that many, many years ago piqued my interest and got me into investigating the paranormal. Nazca lines was one of them when I was in like high school. Brainwaves and binaural beats. uh, remote viewing, and yeah, talking about EVP. I remember the day that I got the the Black Lotus tapes,
Oh yeah,
which was,
yeah.
I don't know if you remember that,
I
but
do. I do.
the whole concept of that, and the idea, I'm sitting next to a reel-to-reel recorder, and the whole concept of the fact that the the electromagnetic record head was picking up stray signal, was fascinating to me and very interesting. And I'm not really huge on the white noise scanners, things like that, that are scanning through random radio frequency, that kind of stuff. You can pick up a lot of really strange whistlers and interesting stuff with that. But when you're talking about things in a straight record head fashion, even when you're talking, and I won't get into whether or not a ghost can manipulate the ones and zeros of a digital recorder as opposed to a tape recorder. All right. But what
Hmm.
I will say is that they could definitely manipulate the weak magnetic field around a piezo element. You know,
Yeah.
they would definitely be able to, amongst the same operating principle, they would definitely be able to vibrate that piezoelectric element in that kind of way. Same
I
way
think
as,
there's something to that. I think
yeah.
that there is something to that.
Well,
And what
and when you start looking at frequencies, especially, man, like there's a whole world. This is one of the things I talk about regularly, is binaural beats in our brains and frequencies in the paranormal, and just the idea of, uh, we see and hear a very, very small slice of the electromagnetic spectrum. The rest of this exists in the world around us regularly. You know, a parrot is a prime example. Maureen Seaberg is a prime example. She is a tetrachromic, somebody who sees four color spectrums, not red, green, blue. She sees red, green, blue, yellow. So my color purple is a totally different color purple to her than it appears to anybody else. A parrot sees into spectrums that we don't see, not only color wise, but near infrared, near ultraviolet, things like that. So, yeah, when you start looking at the animal kingdom, when you start looking at even animals that can see in the dark, it's something that I bring up with Sasquatch regularly. The idea of, like, why wouldn't we have more trail cam photos? It's like, well, if your trail cam is using an infrared indicator and an infrared light, and that animal sees at night, that would almost be like a spotlight to them.
yeah, in their eyeballs.
Yeah,
Yep, yep,
so,
yep, 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 yep.
like,
But
would you
also,
be
but
around that?
here's the thing, Chris. It brings up the question of a disembodied voice.
Yes,
Where does that
yes.
come from if there isn't a physical source? Or like that creak that I heard, right?
Mhm.
3 nights ago here,
Yep.
there wasn't a source for that, but
Yeah.
I heard it. Now, what is creating that? And I would say that it is electromagnetic in some way to hear a voice, and I have
Sure.
heard voices in quiet rooms.
Yep.
Where is that coming from?
Now
I
that
I I don't know.
it doesn't necessarily mean that that has to be a localized voice or a physical presence with you. That's what's awesome. Once you start talking about dimensional science and that kind of thing, especially just frequency, the idea of there being frequencies that are low enough that you can't hear them, but your brain decodes them.
But that's it. Maybe it is you're hearing
Yeah.
what you're hearing is real.
Yep.
It's triggering your nervous system. All of that is happening.
Yeah.
uh, you're interpolating it, right?
Yeah.
You're and that it is a real sound, but there may not be a source for it. It may be electromagnetic. I don't know. I
Hey,
The
one of the
phenomenon is real. I just don't have the answers.
absolutely, absolutely, and, there's a very, very wild side to that phenomenon called targeted individuals, Jimmy, which is something that
Yeah.
we talk about on my show all the time, and just the range of technology that there is to do that, and it's absolutely fascinating, but that once again, manipulates frequencies that we can feel, not hear. You know, our brain is literally a transducer that's living inside of a resonant chamber known as a skull. So,
Yeah, I
yeah,
know, I know,
we
I know, I
we
know.
are we are subjected to all kinds of frequencies that we are not aware of. One of the prime examples I give is 19 hertz, also known as the quote paranormal frequency. It's the frequency, it's one hertz rate below the range of human hearing.
Which is 20 hertz. Yep.
Yeah. So it's the frequency like the king's chamber in the Great Pyramid resonates at 19 hertz. It's the frequency known as the paranormal frequency where you feel like something else is in the room watching you, you know? So
Well,
it's interesting when you
how many
start
ti
thinking
well,
about that.
Chris, how many times have you been sitting around smoking weed with your friends and somebody goes, "Do you hear that?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. Well, no, it's somebody you didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Right? Well, it
Yeah.
just makes you wonder
It
that at
does.
that moment that they were tuned in for something.
Well, you know, especially that idea of tuned in, Jimmy, because we as biological things, man, we spend a good amount of our waking time in a rote state of hypnosis, in a literal altered state of consciousness, whether you're smoking reefer or not, people. If you are driving down the Palisades to work every day, likelihood is you are in a rote state of hypnosis while you're driving.
For
That's why
sure.
you get down the road and you're like, "Oh my god, I'm already at work." You don't
Did you
have to
say
think about that.
reefer? Did you say
I did.
reefer?
I did.
You are from Texas. You are from Texas. Hey, Chris, great conversation tonight.
Yeah,
Where can everybody get involved and follow your
absolutely.
stuff?
You can follow everything at Curious Realm. You can find everything that we're talking about tonight, the field observation log, the binaural beat music, everything else at curiousresearch.org. There are experience forums on both. So if you're an experiencer, feel free to fill out your experiencer form there. The observation and encounter logs available not only on the website, but on Amazon, everything else. If you go to the website, just so you know, I've made a coupon code for all your listeners. Any of the music or the logs available on the website are 25% off forever for Jimmy Church listeners with the code CHURCH. So
Oh, okay. Hey,
anything like
hey,
I can't do anything about Amazon items in the store. There's a bunch of items there that are recommended for field use. I'm one of those. If you're out doing field work, spend a little bit more money, get real lab grade equipment, get something with actual numbers on it, get something that you can zero out. Um, things like that. A green to red ratio doesn't give you actual real good data. It gives you an assumption of something. But having that real data, having those real hard numbers that you can write down, having a device that you can zero when you get into an environment, those are important things if you are looking at gathering this stuff in a scientific way and trying to kind of step up the game a little bit and get things ready to shake that hand with science, which is rapidly coming around the corner, man.
yeah, perfect show. A great conversation. Chris, I
Thank you,
look
Jimmy.
forward to seeing you again in a couple of weeks. We're going to have a lot
Absolutely.
of fun out at the Psy Games, and we'll break some bread and do all those things that we always do. So,
Can't wait, bud.
yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. So, safe travels out to Virginia. I will see you there, and I look forward to our next conversation right here on Fade
Absolutely.
to Black. Thank you so
Take care.
much, Chris.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your night.
Hey, you
Perfect
too.
night on this show. Christopher Jordan, everybody. And again, the Psy Games, the Psychic Olympics. Chris will be there. Come up and say hi. The links for that are below. The promo code for that is below. All the moderators, and thank you for that, Bill, have put the links up with the promo code CHURCH right there in the chat, so you can go and do that. Head over to it's curiousresearch.org and curiousrealm.com. We have the links below, and again, over on our website and throughout social media. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I want everybody to have a great, safe, fun, and amazing weekend. And tonight is my Friday. It's not yours. It's my Friday. So I'll see everybody right back here on Monday. But until then, all I've got is go Backley Tap. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Special thanks to Bill, John, Dex, Jessica, Dennis, and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Space Boy. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2024 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Go back, Lee Tappy.